All right, wedding photographers, imagine this, picture this. It is 8:30 and they just finished cutting the cake. Dinner is over, dances are over, everything is done. And you have to stay for 3 more hours just to capture the sparkler exit. And I get it, like you gotta have that shot. That's such a great shot. You don't wanna miss that shot, but your clients are gonna spend all this money to keep you there. It's not a good use of your time. It's not a good use of their money. What if there was a solution? I'm gonna offer you a solution. The solution is a controlled exit. A controlled exit is when you ask your couple if they will do a controlled exit out of their reception with just their bridal party or family members and maybe some extra friends if they have them, but not the entire wedding. And you do an exit before the end of the night. There are so many reasons why this is a wise, smart decision. So I'm going to talk about why this is so great, how to convince your clients that it is so great and that they should do it, and then also how to actually pull it off without ruining the day. When I see a timeline that is created where the priority is just to get me through the exit, so that means 3 hours of my coverage time are spent when it's an open dance floor and people are just hanging out. Like if they've paid for 8 hours, I don't think it's fair for a photographer to look at a timeline and say, yeah, I'll show up an hour before the ceremony and then I'll stay all the way until midnight, when you know like that's not necessarily going to serve them the best way possible. Maybe you have a different style and you're okay with taking like 5 portraits, but like my clients want portrait time. They want the KJ portrait time. That's a part of the experience that they're purchasing into. And so I've got to make sure they make time for that in the schedule before we get to the reception. So I'm just not in favor of eating up so much expensive photography coverage photographing the same thing over and over and over again. The controlled exit allows me to prioritize my most valuable time of the day. It gives me a time to end that I get to control so that I get to make sure we have plenty of time before that to do exactly what I know I'm honestly most gifted in. In addition to the fact that the controlled exit saves your timeline, stewards your client's time well, it also gives you better images. Let me explain why. You have better images because you get to do this as many times as you want. Instead of a client running through a line of sparklers and being done, you get to say, hey, run through like you're truly leaving for the night. Next time you're gonna run through and you're gonna dip and you're gonna kiss right in the middle. And then the next time you run through, you're gonna run through and pick her up and spin her around. And then the next time you're gonna walk through laughing and friends, high-fiving them, kissing them in the middle. Do whatever you want. We can do this probably 4 or 5 times before the sparklers run out. So you're getting literally 4 times the amount of attempts at getting epic exit portraits. And I cannot tell you how many times have you shot an exit where you're like, I got something, but like, man, I wish I had toned down that flash because I started a little closer than I thought. Like anything technically that you wish you could change, I get to change and tweak. So my controlled exit shots are beautiful because I have so much control over them. Now, I don't always do this. Sometimes the timeline aligns and I'm there for the actual end of the wedding day. But I will tell you, I can't tell a huge difference between a controlled exit when it comes to like the way that it feels, a controlled exit versus everyone's out there. So I've probably convinced you as a photographer, right? We get better images, we have multiple chances, we have more time to set up, it's less chaotic, all the things. But you have to be able to actually convince your clients or else this will never even be an opportunity for you. So how do we convince them that this is the best option? First of all, you got to put your marketing hat on and you have to think through, don't call it a stage exit. Planners will call it a faux exit, a staged exit. That is a negative connotation to it. Call it what it is. It's a controlled exit. We're controlling the amount of people. We're controlling the environment. We're controlling the shots. We are able to get, so is it candid? Kinda, yes, they're running through. Is it authentic to the end of the night? No, but it can still be authentic to them. The next thing is you gotta find a way to educate them immediately. This is not something you want to throw at them 2 weeks before the wedding when you're realizing, oh, I don't want to stay 2 or 3 hours at the reception. This is something they need to know about at the very beginning of their process. This is why I'd like to introduce you the KJ Bridal Guide. It's beautiful. It's a guide that I made early on in my career just for me and my brides. And then I started talking about it and people were like, can we buy that? And so this was actually my first digital product that I ever sold to any photographer. And I made sure that I include an entire spread about controlled exits. Controlled exits, the reason why it's important is because when we start seeing timelines roll in from our couples, they already have this built in. They've already talked to their planners because I've already convinced them. I give them a page called Reception Controlled Exits, and it says, if your coverage ends before the end of your reception, you're hoping to have an exit shot captured, you have the option of planning a controlled exit with your bridal party. You can also include parents, aunts, uncles, anybody that wants to be a part of it. You can, but just not the entire party. And then I explained that there are 3 reasons why the exit is best. 1, you have multiple chances of an epic shot. 2, you haven't partied all night yet, right? So you still look your best. And then 3, you can have coordinated colors with your bridal party. What does that mean? It means instead of having Aunt June show up in her neon pink dress when your wedding is light pastel pinks and blues, you can have a curated portrait with all of your wedding colors. I can give my clients the epic, dreamy exit shots that they want, multiple options of them, curated to the style of their wedding, and their party never has to stop, and they don't have to pay hundreds of dollars to have me stay to the end. It's really just a win-win, win-win-win. This conversation comes up for me normally, I mean, to be honest, and I swear, I'm not making this up, I don't talk about it that much because my clients, I mean, the KJ experience is a real thing, and my clients trust this. They read this, they look over this, and they really build it into their timeline, and then I see it on the timeline. However, let's say someone maybe isn't sure. It normally comes up in conversation when I'm initially talking about the timeline. It could come up even at the engagement session where they're like, hey, just not really sure how to time out like when you would leave. I could bring it up then. But in general, this does the hard work for me. It really does. And so even if you don't buy my guide, you don't have to buy my guide. You could make your own guide. If you don't want to use my words, my design, just plug in your own images, you could totally make your own. You just got to have some way of educating. All right, so we have convinced everybody, right? The photographers are convinced. The clients are now convinced. So how do we actually pull this off? How do we make it happen? What are things to do and what are things to avoid? First things first, you got to make sure everyone's on the same page. And when I mean everyone, I mean all the vendors, and you might want to mention it, have your client mention it to your bridal party and the parents. I normally go to the most vocal, the leader of the pack. There's always a bridesmaid that's kind of calling the shots and is aware of everything. There's always a groomsman that you can rely on where everyone else seems crazy. Find those 2 people and have them gather the group and say, meet me in the foyer. Then at the very end, once everyone else is gathered, then you go get the bride and groom. Because you don't want the bride and groom hanging out in the lobby while you're gathering everybody because it's a waste of their time. But I would avoid the DJ or the band member or the MC, whoever you have at the event. I would avoid them announcing this, right? Because this is where things start to fall apart. When you start getting other vendors involved to be a part of gathering the people, the need starts to get misconstrued. One time, actually it's happened a couple of times, the DJ heard from the planner that they were doing a controlled exit. No one explained to him what a controlled exit was, and so he had the entire wedding leave in the middle of dinner to do a controlled exit. Now, that's ridiculous, right? How was that miscommunicated? I don't know. But now I'm super careful to make sure that no one announces anything unless it is like a dire need. I have had some couples who have said they want everyone to be part of the controlled exit. In that case, yes, you do need to have someone announce it so that everyone can get outside fast, but that is not ideal. We don't want that. If someone suggests that, I tell them all the reasons why I don't think that's a good idea. It's best with bridal party. It's best with just the parents. Leave it at that. We want we want the bridal party, we want parents, we want the couple to leave quietly, and we go outside to a spot that I've already predetermined. I've already set up my flashes. I've already tested it with Michael, and now I need to set them up in 2 lines and do whatever I would normally do for a standard exit. I'm doing it with them probably multiple times. So what are some best practices when it comes to not making it look like it's so small? Like what if there's only 3 bridesmaids on one side and the groomsmen? Like how do you do that? Well, if that's the case, then I will pull in an aunt or uncle, or make sure the flower girl might be there. So anybody else that is kind of a part of the wedding party, but not officially. That's how I fill in those spaces. But a way to look like there are more people there. If there are any type of steps, you want people to start up the steps a little bit and then come down, because then it kind of gives this optical illusion that people are, like the line of people is a little bit longer. You also can have people, instead of doing super straight lines, they start super straight, but the ends flare out a little bit. So if the ends flare out a little bit, from my perspective, I'm going to see people, and then a line. Instead of just like this, it just looks like you just see the first 2 people. And so if the line is not super long, we have to flare out the end to make it look a little bit longer than it really is. And this is the other thing. You can do them running through, but the cool thing about a controlled exit is that you can also stage just traditional shots. Like you can have bridal parties surrounding them with their sparklers, and they're doing a dip and the bridal party's going crazy, but it's not that they're running through a tunnel anymore. They're on the steps and they're like just hovering around their couple, their friends. And I think that's the other part of this that I love, is that you break away from the standard run through a tunnel shot. You can do a lot of different options. One thing to be sure you do is you want to make sure the planner, the coordinator, whoever you're working with knows ahead of time, right? Not the day before, but like ahead of time. As soon as you know they're doing a controlled exit, make sure the planner is aware. One, because it's just good for them to have a heads up. It's good for them to know what the plan, they have to know what the plan is, right? So I actually prefer, I think it's wonderful when the planner takes the lead and they're basically like, hey, it's time for the controlled exit. I have everything set up outside and ready. You can come tell me exactly where you want the lines to be. That's just a dream. Those type of planners are the planners you want to stick around. So you got to make sure the team members that need to know. So when this is done, it's also a great time for us to get our photo with the couple. Michael and I always take a photo with a couple. We missed taking a photo with one couple ever, and we almost caught them before they went to their flight for their honeymoon the next morning to get one with them. That's how desperate we were. So we've only missed it once out of 300 some weddings. And so we get our photo with a couple and then we say goodbye. And that's the end of the night. If you enjoyed this video in general, don't miss the rest of the playlist. There's an entire playlist, Wedding Day 101, all different parts of the wedding day. I'm excited to add this to the collection. I hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe to make sure you don't miss the next one because there's plenty of other parts of the day that we have not done yet. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.